O blessed, glorious Trinity, bones to philosophy, milk to faith. These are the words of John Donne, a 16th and 17th century Anglican priest and poet. And he wrote them in what he called a litany of divine poems in the section on the Trinity, the Holy Trinity. Bones to philosophy, he says. Bones don't speak. They're not much help in the world anymore. But milk to faith. Nourishing milk. My mother made me drink milk at every dinner when I was growing up so that I would grow and have good, strong bones. Milk, creating growth. Milk to faith. Today we celebrate a doctrine, the doctrine of the Trinity. One God in three persons. And it can seem a little bit out of place or strange to celebrate a doctrine in these times that is, at the very best, a little difficult to understand. In a world where suffering seems to be heaped on suffering, why would anyone celebrate something that sounds like arguing over how many angels can dance on the head of a pin? People are dying in huge numbers. People are losing jobs. People have no way to put food on the table. And in the U.S., a racist cop murdered an African-American male named George Floyd by kneeling on his neck for 9 minutes while George Floyd cried out, "Please, I cannot breathe." And he killed him. And George Floyd is just one in a long list of African-American men and women who've been killed by the very people who are supposed to protect them. And the righteous and just anger over this injustice has exploded and has caused more destruction. So why celebrate a doctrine now? Milk to faith. Jesus, in his final words to his disciples in the Gospel of Matthew, tells them to go out and baptize in the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. And it took our church at least 300 years, more like 500 or 600, to come to the conclusion and decide that the one God was one in three. One God, one substance, three persons. And it wasn't easy to settle the issue. The Athanasian Creed maybe puts it best. We worship one God in Trinity, in unity, neither confounding the persons nor dividing the substance. And further it says, there are not three incomprehensibles, not three created or three uncreated, but one incomprehensible. This actually, admittedly, does not provide very much in the way of explanation or details about how that happens, at least not in the way that we scientific people are accustomed to. Really, it's a creed. It's an assertion of belief. It's not trying to explain anything. And it admits that there is some deep mystery, incomprehensible mystery. As I said last week, a valuable mystery, a true spiritual mystery, is a mystery that helps you grow. And a mystery about God, when you take it seriously and you struggle with it and you ask questions about it and you read about it and you never give up on that struggle, it brings you closer to God. And maybe it even changes us. And maybe even changes the world. That kind of mystery is a start, not an end. So here's a simple science experiment that you can do at home with your kids or just by yourself if you're completely bored. This is lemon juice. I'm actually going to add a little more lemon juice to it. Now the truth is I don't have to wear these red gloves or even this apron, but it makes me more scientific looking. So that's what I'm doing. So we're going to get a lot more lemon juice. I'm using 2 lemons. You can do this actually with 1 lemon or a half a lemon. It just is more dramatic the more lemon juice that you have. So we'll squeeze that out and we will add that to our cup. Now, this is bicarbonate of soda. This is basically baking soda. So I'm going to take a little bit of the baking soda. Now everybody stand back, get ready. You see that? Everybody see that? It's fizzing. It's bubbling. There's bubbling and fizzing. That's kind of awesome. Now, we actually know very well what is happening. Baking soda is a base. Lemon juice is mostly acidic. In simple scientific terms, when a base and an acid come into contact with each other, they can exchange ions. The reaction produces carbon dioxide, which is this very cool, all this fizz that you're seeing there in the glass. Now I'm going to put the formula up for this reaction, the chemical formula, for those of you who are seriously curious about the details. Now, the scientific study of acid-base relationships has yielded a lot of interesting information and has had a lot of applications. But at the end, it ends. We have a formula. We describe it. For the physicists out there, we may not know what's going on at the quantum level, but for the most part, we know what's going on, and it ends with our discovery. We can comprehend it. The Trinity is not like that. We will never understand the Trinity like this, because our faith in a triune God is not the end. It's a beginning. Milk to faith, a starting place. What the doctrine of the Trinity tells us is that God's very being is a community. And you cannot remove even one person of that community. That's what the church decided. That's what has nourished the faith of millions. You cannot even remove one person from God. If you do, we believe God is not fully God. Even if we cannot understand this belief in the same way that we understand the result of a scientific explanation or a scientific experiment or equation, it is a beautiful, wondrous mystery. And it is a starting place, a starting point for our own reflection on God, on ourselves, and on our community. George Floyd, Breonna Taylor, Sandra Bland, Paul Castaway, Melissa Ventura, Eric Gardner, Michael Brown, Trayvon Martin, and on, and so many others have been ripped from our communities by the sin of racism. Thousands and thousands of people here in Mexico have been ripped from their communities, kidnapped, murdered by the sin of violence, of drug violence, of state violence, of domestic violence. I could go on and on. People murdered because of homophobia, anti-Semitism, sexism, religious hate. I could go on and on and on and on. Each loss, each one diminishes us And by that I mean it diminishes us as individuals and it diminishes us as a community. We are created in the image of the triune God. And God cannot be divided. And if God cannot lose one person, neither can we. This must stop. Racist killings must stop. Murder for money must stop. Murder of any kind must stop. And it will not stop until each of us refuses to believe that any other person, no matter what they look like, what they believe, how they talk, what language they speak, we have to refuse that they are somehow completely different and separate from us. They are part of ourselves. We are created in the image of a triune God, a God that cannot lose even one person to be whole. Is contemplating the mystery of the Trinity all that we need to do to end the sin of racism and other violence? No. There is more that we need to do. But if we truly worshiped the triune God, if we truly and deeply believed in our hearts in the divine nature of community, and we celebrated that, and we praised that, and we worshiped it, and we truly and deeply acted each and every day in a way that showed we believed that, it would be a good start. Milk to faith. We must be humble enough to know that we need to and can change ourselves. We must be humble enough to worship a God we don't fully understand, so that by trying to understand, we can be changed. We must desire with every core of our being to be more like that God, treasuring every person, denying that we can exist without the other. Oh, blessed, glorious Trinity, incomprehensible mystery, nourish our faith, nourish our hope, make us more like Thee, one in many, one community.